Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kayla and this is the AS family. Not too long ago, I was speaking to a man whose son had been recently diagnosed with autism. And we got on the topic of his hopes that he had for his child. This was his first child, a boy at that. So, of course, he had dreams of the typical fatherly dreams, teaching your son how to catch a football, playing sports with them, teaching them things. And from his perspective, he was thinking that all of this was an impossibility now because his son has autism. So that's what really brought about today's subject of, are sports automatically off the table for kids with autism? So the short answer to that question is no, of course not. Sports are not automatically impossible or improbable for kids with autism. In fact, there are many professional athletes who are autistic. Now, some sports may be easier for kids with autism to participate in or to acclimate to, and those I'm going to go over today. So a little background, I live in the United States. So when I say the big three of sports, I am specifically talking about basketball, baseball, and American football. These are really the main sports that people think of, and they're our most popular ones. Now, these sports, the big three, are also quite difficult for a person with autism because they have such complicated rules and because they are team sports. Team sports require you to predict the actions of the opposing team as well as your teammate. So obviously that is difficult for someone with autism, which is a social disorder. As I said before, these sports are not completely out of the realm of someone with autism. They can participate and even excel in these sports. However, it can be very challenging to them. So I'm just going to hop right into this list. Quick disclaimer, this is not me saying that your child will automatically like these sports because they have autism or that they will be good at them. I am simply providing a list of sports that have been shown to be accommodating to individuals with autism. So the first one I'm going to mention is swimming. I personally love swimming. I was on the swim team in middle school, and I will always advocate for young kids with autism learning to swim. Swimming is an independent sport, so even though you are on a team, your event is specific to you. And that is a very important thing when it comes to kids with autism playing sports. If it is independent, they are solely responsible for themselves and their actions. They do not have to predict the actions of others, which makes this a lot easier for them. And also, it has very simple rules, and that is important. When I was speaking of the big three sports, even me now as an adult, I do not understand all the rules of football or the scoring system of baseball. It is just too much for my mind to, encompass. And swimming is not that complicated. There aren't too many ways that you can get disqualified from a swimming event. It's just very straightforward. The next sport that I am going to talk about is track and field or running. So the difference being that track and field includes a lot of other sports like javelin, shot put, high jump, long jump, hurdles, including running, long distance, sprint, all of those are included with track and field. Whereas running is just that, running. And I am feeling that this is going to be something that I'll try out with my youngest son, Zai. He loves watching the women's track and field for the Olympics. Sha'Carri Richardson is his all-time favorite runner right now. And he runs along with them when he watches the videos. He'll just run in place or whatnot. So I'm thinking that this may be something that I try out with him. Track and field is a very good sport for individuals with autism because, again, even though you are on a team, it is an independent sport where you are responsible for your role and your role only in this team. Another great thing about track and field is that it promotes social interaction, and it is a great way to burn energy for kids who are hyperactive. The next sport I'm going to talk about is cycling or biking. This is another solo event. Very simple rules, straightforward. It also helps to improve balance and motor skills in individuals with autism. Biking outside through possibly like nature trails and things like that, it is very helpful for calming individuals and taking some of the pressure off of competing. All right, moving on. The next sport that I am going to talk about is one that my oldest son, Isaiah, actually enjoys, and he did for a little while, which is golf. Golf is a very sensory friendly sport. It's quiet. You're out on the green pastures, and it teaches patience. As golfing can be the 19 holes or however many holes, I really don't know, but it teaches patience going through each round to each hole. Now, while the rules can get a little more complicated than the sports that I mentioned before, it is still a very predictable game where you hit the ball and you go to wherever you hit it and pick up from there. Golfing also helps with building fine motor skills and some of the muscles that we tend to not really think about. Now, the next sport that I am going to talk about is gymnastics. This is a all-around just great sport for kids with autism. It helps them to get out that energy, and if they have some sensory issues, it can help with lessening those. It builds motor skills and coordination, and it's just an overall fun sport for kids, both boys and girls. For boys, it can help with building muscles, upper body, core, all of that. It is a full body workout, really. I highly recommend gymnastics. Now, the next sport is something that I have recently gotten interested in, and that is tennis. And I really contribute this to Coco. Watching her play and dominate on that court has really gotten me into tennis. It is a sport that can build patience, like I said, with golf. It is a long-running sport. The games can take a long time, and that helps with building patience. It helps with hand-eye coordination and focus. It is an independent sport that you can also play in a team with doubles. Tennis, all around, it is just a great sport for children with autism. They are getting that energy out with hitting that ball with that racket. You know how they make those sounds every time they do it. They are building muscle and also expressing emotion. Now, the scoring system can get a little complicated, and that just really takes being interested in it enough to understand how the scoring works. The next sport I'm going to recommend is martial arts. This is another sport that my oldest son participated in. He was in karate for a few years and received a junior black belt, his first level, and he was just so, proud of himself, and so were we. We were really proud of the dedication that he showed in, pursuing this black belt. He trained for many weeks in preparation for the assessment that he would have to go through in order to attain his black belt. And like I said, me and his dad, we just could not have been more proud of him in that moment. So my son did karate, but when I say martial arts, I am specifically talking about taekwondo, jiu-jitsu, and judo. All of those that are encompassed in martial arts, they are very good for kids with autism. They're very regimented, which is great. That routine that is automatically built into the sport is really good for kids with autism. It teaches discipline as well as self-defense and self-control. Martial arts also helps with focus and body awareness. There are just a list of ways that martial arts can be beneficial for any kid, really. For kids who are hyposensitive to touch, martial arts are a really good way to get that positive sensory input. They are, especially like for jiu-jitsu, which is a lot of wrestling, that is positive sensory input, believe it or not. So I'm going to get into some more sports that aren't as talked about often, but are very good sports for young kids to participate in. The first one is surfing. If you live in an area near an ocean, then this is probably something that is a more accepted sport for your community. I'm in a landlocked state, so surfing isn't really something that you're going to see a lot of. But it is very good for kids. It teaches balance. Of course, they will definitely need to know how to swim. And for starting out with beginner surfing, I would say, stick to the shallow end of things. But surfing is a great sport. All right, so the next one on the list is rowing. This is another team sport, but it really doesn't feel like a team sport. You are in a boat with your team, but you are pulling your own weight, literally, in this boat. Rowing is a very great exercise. It's nice being out on the water, going through nature, so it's a very calming sport. It teaches teamwork as well as diligence. Next is horseback riding. In another video, I discussed equestrian therapy or horseback riding therapy, and all of the benefits that come from that will also come from competing in horseback riding. So you get the added benefit of the pride of winning, and of winning really with your horse. So that just strengthens that bond that the rider has with the horse. And it is a very calm sport. Now, this next sport is another personal favorite of mine, and that is dance. As a kid, I did compete in dance competitions. I was on a dance team. And dancing is a really good way of course, learning body awareness, coordination. Don't discount, dancing as far as exercise goes either. Dancers are very strong and they have a lot of lean muscle. So dancing is also a very good form of exercise. Now I'm going to talk about bowling. My oldest son, Isaiah, he honestly still is very much into bowling. He loves to do it on the weekends. And while he's never participated in like a team event, it is something that he really enjoys. Bowling alley is a very sensory friendly environment, even though there is the occasional loud sound. For the most part, it is a very medium volume, and it has like a nice ambient vibe to it. Bowling has simple rules, and the repetitiveness of it makes it a very easy sport for a person with autism to understand and acclimate to. Bowling, while not typically thought of as a kid sport is a very good sport that many parents should consider when they are thinking of something to put their child into. They will definitely enjoy themselves. If you can find a league with other kids their age, all the better. It is a great social environment. My son really loved it. When we had one of his years with homeschooling, we did include him in a social group that met at a bowling alley, and that was the best thing. He always looked forward to it. I want to stress with these sports to always think outside of the box and to really think about what your child is interested in. And that will really help with finding a sport that they can not only play but truly enjoy. I hope this helped, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.